Welcome, my friends. Bienvenidos. This is your home Health, Spice, and Life show. And this is the intimate side of the show. As you know, we call it El Cafecito Corner. Or maybe you like to watch it in Spanish as well, El Rincón del Cafecito. Wherever you may be in the world right now. And like I like to say, maybe you're in Paris, maybe you're in Sweden, maybe you're in Argentina, maybe you're in Venezuela, maybe you're in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Wherever you may be at, I want to give you the warmest of welcomes to El Cafecito Corner. Today, I am super excited, even more so because this morning we've had a few technical issues, but somehow we continue to have the energy very high because we're so grateful to be here today. I am, because today we have a very, very special guest. And I'm actually super excited, and I want to share with you this particular new aspect of the show because this is the special guest series of El Cafecito Corner here at Health, Spice, and Life. And today we have somebody that is very dear to me, not only because she is somebody incredibly committed to being a conscious practitioner, she's a chiropractor, but beyond that, she has been a complete supporter, not of me, but the whole vision of the show of supporting 1 billion people have Latino heritage or inclination for the Latino world, going back to years when I started doing the pilots for the TV show some years back. And she said, I'm right here. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of supporting everybody else. And it doesn't come as a surprise because my special guest, Dr. Jen Hastings, Dr. Jennifer Hastings, she is somebody who is very committed to elevating the quality of life and health of those people that are part of her community. And she lives in Florida. That's where her practice is at as a chiropractor. But also with the advent of technology, she's gone beyond the confines of just being physically involved in the care of her patients in her community. Telemedicine has allowed her to completely widen those horizons and be able to touch the lives of those that she has the privilege of caring for. So I want to give her the warmest of welcomes as I'm welcoming you too as you watch Health, Spice, and Life El Cafecito Corner with us. So welcome, Dr. Jen, again. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here with you, right? Obviously, just living the dream of sharing our mission of reaching out to millions of people throughout technology and just sharing, connecting, coming into our viewers' homes, and also giving you some tips on how to get healthier and thrive, especially during these times. So I'm grateful to be here with you and just very excited to share these next few minutes with y'all.
The honor is completely mine. And as I like to say when we start the show, wherever you may be watching from, if you're watching on YouTube and you have not subscribed, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to the channel. You may be watching on Instagram, or maybe you're watching on Facebook. So whatever the case may be, if you have not joined our community of Health, Spice, and Life, I want to reach out to you and say, warm welcome and an even warmer invitation to be part of our community. In so doing, you'll be able to hear from us. You'll be able to participate in this community. I would love to hear not only what your thoughts on the show are, but where are you in the world and what things you would also like to listen about so that the future guests of the show can enhance your life and elevate the quality of all of those around you. You see, the beginning of this particular exchange with Dr. Jen here at El Cafecito Corner happened some weeks ago because she was my special guest on the national TV show of Health, Spice, and Life, which is broadcast across 210 different markets, not only here in the United States, but also in Canada and in Europe, particularly in Germany, where the show is very popular. And TV is a little bit different. If you've been watching El Cafecito Corner or El Rincón del Cafecito, or maybe Zoom in our hemisphere, one of my other segments, you know that we like to take our time and we like to just have this intimacy of communication. But on TV, on the other hand, things move at a very different pace. So we were on TV together for 5 minutes and she shared so many insights within 5 minutes. And we had done conversations leading to the show, and the richness of the content, her wisdom in what she sees, and her willingness to share this in such an open-hearted way touched me tremendously, like it always has since I first met her in 2016. And I reached out to her and I said, you know what? This is a conversation that merits a lot more than 5 minutes because it's transformative. The things that you have to share, the wisdom that you have to share with the audience, it's truly going to create a huge impact. And she's like, when do we do it? As she always says, she's a huge giver. She's always present. So this show is about furthering that conversation, which I am absolutely convinced will change your experience of health, not just with yourself and your body, but those around you will benefit also from the knowledge that you will gain from this. Practical knowledge, not people speaking language that is really not connected, not just two human beings having a conversation about health, which is meaningful, which is consumable, something that makes sense to you. So I am going to pass the microphone very soon to her, but as you know, we are at El Cafecito Corner, and we always start with my beverage of choice and your beverage of choice. You know that I like espresso, and I'm going to ask Dr. Jen, what is her beverage of choice today? Dr. Jen.
So, Dr. Mario, my beverage of choice today is actually Rhubarb tea. I love a good café con leche. It's actually one of my favorite types of coffee. But when I have too much of it, I actually get very jittery. So today, at this moment, I'm actually enjoying some Rhubarb tea. And it's just nice and smooth.
Well, as you're watching this, you may not be a coffee drinker. Maybe you're not a Rhubarb tea person, but maybe you like to drink some juice. Maybe you're a water kind of person. Maybe you like bubbly water. Whatever your beverage of choice is, I'm going to invite you to just raise your cup with us. And as I always like to say every time we are here at El Cafecito Corner, a tu salud.
A tu salud.
One of the great ways to wake up our senses is basically to take advantage of them, right? So I like to describe, as you know, if you've been watching, what is it that I'm drinking? This particular espresso is from Colombia. And some of the hints that I'm getting flavor-wise, believe it or not, maybe some tobacco notes, maybe a little bit of milk chocolate in there, and also like a citrusy flavor that is coming through, and some hints of cinnamon as well. And that's kind of waking up my senses. Dr. Jen, what are you getting in your Rhubarb tea?
In my Rhubarb, I'm getting a bit of vanilla, just a very creamy, smooth flavor. That's definitely the vanilla, which is the creaminess is what I love about the café con leche.
Love it. So whatever you may be drinking right now, I hope you're enjoying yours as much as we're drinking and enjoying ours as we drink ours. And at this point, I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Jen so we can really dive into the subject, and she'll start sharing with us some of the experience that we've been seeing, particularly during these times that we've gone from working in our former offices, let's say, and then COVID forcing us to completely modify our lifestyle, not just the non-professional, but definitely the professional side of things. Dr. Jen.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Mario, in the last few months, because of all these changes, what millions of people all over the world have actually done is they've transferred from a job at the office where they could actually get up from their desk and enjoy a bit of a coffee break and walk and speak to some of the colleagues. The kids in school were walking from class to class. They were able to have recess and play with other kids. And, you know, everybody is working from home now. And then the kids actually, at the end of the year, had to finish the school year taking online classes. And one of the things that most people are actually doing is they're actually working at home, not out of what we call a full PC, which is a tower with a big monitor and a big keyboard. Most people from home are actually working from a laptop. And if you take a look at the width of the keyboard of my laptop versus, right, what a regular keyboard would look like, I mean, take a look at the difference in width, right? And so what's happening is because of these changes, and every day I'm actually going to leave this up here, because of these changes in our habits, we've seen an increase in people coming to the office with neck pain, low back pain, headaches, and there's two components to this change that we've had in our lifestyle. There is this physical component, right, which is those musculoskeletal symptoms, but then there's the psychological and emotional component, and we're actually going to talk about both of those things today. And so if you take a look, right now I'm sharing with you today from actually my home office, and I have a desk, and although I have a laptop, if you actually take a look, I have it on top of a little wooden box, and this wooden box, I got it at its store. It was particularly made so that you could set your laptop on top of it so that the laptop is actually higher. Another thing that I purchased is I purchased a wireless keyboard with a separate mouse. Like that, I'm not working out of the laptop keyboard, because when we are constantly working out of a laptop, our bodies are in contraction and we're leaning forward. And if you take a look at the Sympathetic posture. We have two underlying areas to a nervous system. We have the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the stress nervous system, that what they say, the fight or flight. And when we are stressed, and even if you notice when a cat gets mad, they arch and they get contracted. Well, even if we're not mad, even if we're just focusing on work, when we're working out of a laptop, we're getting into that contracted flex mode. And so by creating these modifications to our workstation, it's actually going to help us out. The other thing that we're actually seeing, Dr. Mara, is we're seeing a lot of kids using the laptops in their bed, where they're just laying back in their bed and slouching and putting the laptop on their lap, right? And they're sitting like this for hours. And how good does this posture look for you, Doc?
I know, pretty slouchy, not great.
Yeah, this doesn't look too good. And then a lot of other people are actually, they're working from their dining room tables. And so same thing, the laptop is at a lower level. They're sitting on chairs that are not properly supporting their low back, and that's actually affecting the problems with regards to low back pain. And so what we're talking about is, I'm going to show you some things here because I want you to be aware of the effects of it, right? So this right here is what we call a healthy spine. You have the bones, you have the disc, and this right here is where the nerve comes out by, right? And so when you have a healthy spine and when you're properly aligned, the tension and the stress gets properly dispersed throughout your spine. When you have had bad habits, bad positionings, falls, car accidents, sleeping in the wrong position, you get something called misalignments, which in chiropractic we call those subluxation. Sub meaning less, lux meaning light. Why do we call it that? Well, the nervous system is like an electrical system. It has an energy, what in Chinese medicine is called qi. Other disciplines know it as prana, right? And in chiropractic, we call it innate intelligence. And that innate intelligence flows through the spinal cord, down out the peripheral nerves, vivifying, bringing life to every cell, tissue, and organ. But when we have the bad habits, right, of bad posture, or when we've had injuries and we get these subluxations or spinal misalignments, we go from having a healthy spine, right, to having a misaligned spine that starts to get more wear and tear. And you could even get something called osteoarthritis right there. And so what we are here to share with you guys today, and I'm so excited about this, is talk about the lifestyle changes that you can actually implement both for yourself, your kids, and your loved ones. And make sure that you share this because we want to make sure that everybody is healthy. We're going to talk about those lifestyle changes that I highly recommend you do at home so that that energy, that innate intelligence can continue vivifying every part of your body and allowing you to express health. So, yeah.
Right. I was going to say something that I wanted to underline from what you've said, which I think it really speaks to the way that I see you, Dr. Jane, as a conscious chiropractor, somebody who's really present to what's happening in the system of that other person and how that's perceived by you before you apply your technical skills as a chiropractor on the particular patient. And it's the aspect of talking about light in the system. You see, Dr. Jane was saying the word sub, S-U-B, luxation, L-U-X-A-T-I-O-N. And she's, you know, it's a compound word, sub, something that is less, it's not as grave, it's not as heavy. And then the luxation, or coming from the word light. And it's important to me because in the world of conventional medicine, and many of you know this, I'm a radiologist, some of you may not know that. I have seen this many, many times, but in conventional medicine, we don't really talk about the light in the system. That's a different kind of language, which I personally embrace in my personal life because I'm a big believer and a frequent flyer, if you will, to chiropractic care because I've had unbelievable results, not only on the physical side, but I've had sometimes I felt emotionally stuck to the point that when I see a chiropractor and I have been adjusted, which is one of the modalities that the chiropractors practice to get the body back in alignment, I felt such emotional releases that I've actually cried after having the application of the technique so that I can go back and be realigned. So the aspect of talking about light, to me at least, is a very advanced way of considering the body because it's coming from a place of honoring the inherent capacity for inner healing, that the body is always doing its best to go towards or move in that direction. And when you talk about, what chiropractors do, which you will in this segment, it allows to have that flow of that inner light, that flow of that energy, which wants to always move towards a state of healthy states or balanced states or harmonious states. You allow the body to be able to get to that state once again. And I think it's a beautiful way, but it's not philosophical. It's very practical because you can feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually a lot of science behind it, in neurology, we call it the nerve potential, where there's an ionic exchange and there's just nerve energy, and so absolutely. And what our goal is to make sure that every man, woman, and child are expressing their maximum potential by having that nervous system fully reconnected. And most people don't realize that the at-home habits, most people think that they're chiropractors for whenever you get into a car accident or a fall, but most people don't realize that the at-home habits can actually have an impact in our health, disconnecting us from that health expression, And then some people, and we were talking about this earlier, some people, when there's a communication in the body, right? And we can be so focused on doing whatever we're doing. We could be focused on work, right? Or in everyday lifestyle issues. And we are not listening to the body. And the body will speak to us by symptoms. The body does two things with symptoms. It either tells you that there's a problem happening, or it actually is helping you heal from the problem. And so we could be so focused in our workstations, and that neck to shoulder tension is going to be increasing. We're going to be contracting. And sometimes what we'll do is we'll just rub, we'll drink a Tylenol and ibuprofen, muscle relaxant, and it'll take the pain away. But we just ignored that conversation. We just ignored what the body was telling us, that it's time to take a break, or our workstation is not properly set up. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a common friend, and a friend in common, who is actually an internationally known chiropractor, Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, and he was a guest of ours here in our property some time back into our home, and we were having one night a conversation about health and this subject of the inner communication and what the body is actually telling us. And he was saying, Mario, the way that we're living our lives is just as fallacious, and this is a metaphor that he used. Imagine that your fire alarm in your home goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning as you're sleeping. Well, most people would wake up and be like, okay, there's a fire. Do I need to immediately leave the property? Or is there something that I can put the fire away and then basically things go back to normal? I said, well, that's typically what one would do. But when it comes to health, check this out. It's a little bit different, because most of us at some point in our lives, and some people on an ongoing basis, we wake up in the middle of the night, we look at where the alarm is, we get a little stool or a chair, we get on it, and we reach up, we grab it, we take it down, and guess what we do? We open the little battery case, we take the battery out, and it's like, the fire alarm is off now. They put it back on the ceiling again, and they go back to sleep. You see, that is putting pills in your body. That is just doing other things that have nothing to do with listening to that inherent wisdom and communication that the body is telling us. And that's over the course of time, as Dr. Jane will be discussing, the body will respond to what you're giving to it, to the lack of listening, and just completely putting something in the mouth of that communication so that you can't hear it anymore. So we cannot be waking up in the middle of the night to just take the batteries off the alarm, because the knowledge, the wisdom inside of us is truly, it's so ancient. And our duty is to, how can we access our own awareness and develop that awareness so that we can be resourced in the right direction to support that light that comes through the body to be flowing as it should.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, this is why I'm so grateful that you have me here. This is why I'm so happy that you've got this amazing show where you're actually reaching out to millions of people. Because what our mission is to come into your homes and educate you on how to maintain that life expression and how not to ignore those symptoms. Because symptoms is one of two things. It's either your body telling you that there's a problem, right? Or your body helping you heal from the problem. Like I said earlier, with regards to fevers, if you have a fever, is your body doing both? It's your body telling you that there's a problem, but the fever actually also activates the immune system to help you fight whether it's the virus or the bacteria. But I wanted to share with you actually today a couple of things that I recommend that you all do at home. And please make sure that you share this video with your family members and your kids, because especially the kids, because we're seeing a lot of kids with what's called text neck that's also being created by the use of laptops. So at home, when you're working from home, there's a couple of things that I want you to be aware of. I want you to make sure that you have if you don't have a little wooden box like this to lift up your laptop, you could get a couple of big books, stack them up, and put the laptop on top. Like that, the laptop is higher, and ideally, you can do it at eye level. The other thing that I also recommend is make sure that you get a wireless keyboard. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you here, not only do I have my wireless keyboard, but I also got one for my daughter because she finished the last few months of school from home, and now she's going to actually start college, and most of those classes looks like they're going to be online. So wireless keyboard or mouse are also vital. And then when it comes to low back pain, especially if you're actually working from the dining room table, most of those chairs were not created for you to sit on there for 6, 8, or 10 hours if you're working from home. What happens is those surfaces are really hard. They're causing actually a direct compression to the disc in the spine, right? If you're sitting on there in a hard surface for a long period of time, and that disc is going to wear and tear, and eventually a nice healthy disc will start to, if you already don't have a herniation, you can actually start creating a bit of a disc issue in there and possibly a herniation. So we want to make sure that when you're sitting on a surface, you're actually sitting on a pillow. And the recommendation that I have is every 45 minutes, change your positioning. So take off the pillow, put it back on 45 minutes later, put it behind your back 45 minutes later, but do that every 45 minutes because we want you to make sure that you're actually resetting your posture and your position. That's going to give you some relief. Back when we were at work, we were taking breaks. Kids were walking from class to class. They were doing recess. They were playing with their friends. Now we are stagnant in a workplace at home, and it's not helping the spines. And what happens to stagnant water, Dr. Mario? Is it healthy water?
Like I like to say all the time, and I've done segments of this, the most valuable resources on the planet, if they're not moving, they actually go bad on us.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with water.
That's profound. And our most valuable resource, when I'm teaching workshops, when I'm doing corporate workshops, sometimes when I'm doing TV segments, I have to remind people that our most valuable asset is not our home. It's not our car. It's not our jewelry. It is our health. Well, they say this, when a man has a lot of things, he can actually have a lot of wishes too. But when man is actually missing health, he only has one wish, right? And that's to regain health. And so to take care of this asset, this vehicle that our Creator has actually given us, by having healthy habits, by having healthy nutritional habits, by having a clear nervous system, is the best thing that we can actually do. So make sure that you're actually applying these habits because it's going to make a difference in staying healthy during these times. And, we don't know how long these changes are going to be for, but when you apply these changes, they're going to keep you healthy and active, and they're going to help you stay energized.
One of the things that I want to share that goes along perfectly with what you're saying, Dr. Jen, most people have the notion that the hardest structures in our body, mainly bones, are things that are just static. In other words, they are the way they are. They form once we became adults, and they don't move. They don't do anything else. They're just there. And I want to share that, in fact, that's really far from the truth. Bones and the hard structures of the body are extremely dynamic. In other words, when forces or stress is being applied to them, they respond to those stresses because there are cells making those hard structures there. that are responding to those stress factors, and they adjust to do whatever is it that they need to do so that your body can stay in as much of a state of harmony as possible with whatever is it that is stressing it. But if your body is having the alarms go off and you're starting to feel things, what we like to call symptoms in healthcare, it may be beyond the point of just a very transient or very quick stress. Now the body is starting to respond to that stress by what's called remodeling. It would be like punching the wall and now you put some DAP on it to make it flat again. So essentially the body is doing that, and it can come to a point where the stress factors are so large, so intense, so strong that now let's say if we're talking about bones or nerves or discs, they can assume changes in how they look in their shape that can also impact other areas. So to Dr. Jen's point, which is absolutely invaluable, it is so important to, once you start to get that repetitive symptoms, that message that doesn't feel right, and we all know, even if we cannot say, oh, that's got to be a herniated disc, we all know when like, oh, the back just doesn't feel right. That's typically what we say, or I feel like a sharp pain, or something is there that doesn't go away. That's a kind of messaging that should be prompting you to say, my experience of my body in this moment, or for quite some time now, has been very different from what it used to be. What message is being, brought to my attention that I'm just not understanding, or in some cases I may be afraid to go to somebody to be told something that I think that's what it is and I don't want to deal with that, right? I mean, haven't you come across that, Dr. Jen?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to show you a little bit of what the remodeling, may look like. This is a model of what's known as osteoarthritis, and a lot of people think that that just comes throughout the years. And I'm sure that you all have met people in their 70s or 80s that are very contracted and are not as active, and then you've met people in their 70s or 80s that are just very healthy and active. I used to have a neighbor that he invited me in his 70s to play racquetball, and I was in my mid-20s at the time. And boy, after 5 minutes, I asked somebody in the courts to take over because I couldn't keep up with him. He was just in motion and very healthy. But yeah, we have, we have a tendency to kind of ignore the body and be afraid sometimes to even go to the doctor. And the longer we wait, then it can actually get to be worse. I had a gentleman start care this last week, and just very, very high stress executive job at a worldwide hotel chain. And when this gentleman came in, when he called the office, he was in tears making the appointment. According to what my assistants told me, when he came in, he was in tears as they did his history. And we just, tried to get him back into the X-ray room as quick as possible. And the reason he came in and he was in tears is because he felt a sharp stabbing pain in his neck, and he literally felt like there was a knife stuck to his neck. And when I initially did his new patient history, I said, how long ago did this start? And he said, honestly, yeah, it's been bothering me a bit for the last 2 weeks. And as we went more into the new patient history that we took, it actually had been going on and off for years, but he was so focused in his responsibilities of work and so focused in providing to for his family that he had kind of put his health aside. And so one of the things that I want to urge you is listen to your body. As we said a couple of minutes ago, this is the most wonderful asset that we have, the most magnificent creation, where it actually speaks to us. And if we treat it right, and if we listen to it, and if we find the right providers to guide us, then we can actually have vitality well beyond the 80s and 90s. We can still be physically active. I want you to keep something in mind. The nervous system, when it's got interference, you will not always feel pain. Believe it or not, 90% of the nervous system is for pain. The other 91% of the nervous system is for function. So you can have interference in the functional aspect of the nervous system and not feel pain, but have other issues. I myself started going to the chiropractor when I was 17 for migraines, but as the chiropractor actually checked my whole spine, he found some of those subluxations we were speaking about earlier. He found some subluxations in my low back. I didn't have low back pain, but he still addressed those subluxations. And guess what happened after a while of him adjusting my low back is as he released the nerve interference, my menstrual cramps, which she had no idea I used to have menstrual cramps, my menstrual cramps disappeared. And these were just so severe that I used to have to lay down, bending forward in bed for about 2 days. And so imagine a teenager in high school, 17 years old, 15, 16, 17, right, missing school, either because of my migraines or because of my menstrual cramps. And little did I know that as I went to get checked for migraines, because as I begged our primary doctor to give me some strong medication for migraines, he said, no, you're too young for those. Thankfully, he did that, because at the time, my high school sweetheart said, no, let's go to my chiropractor. My mother agreed. We addressed my neck misalignment, right, which actually happened from birth, Dr. Mario. When I was born, they took me out with forceps. You know what those are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Caused big misalignment in my neck. So that's what was causing my migraines as it started to grow up. But I got my low back checked. Getting rid of the nerve interference in my low back and my menstrual cramps went away. So it's quite fascinating, to see the changes and to see the healing and the expression of vitality. So if you're stuck working at home to maintain your low back healthy, make sure that you're sitting on a cushion and change your posture every 30 to 45 minutes. And if you're noticing that you're actually having chronic low back pain, chronic neck to shoulder pain or tension, right? Or arm pain, numbness, or tingling, that in my office is a red flag. Because by the time we get numbness or tingling down our arms, that means that the damage has been happening there for so long, your arms are already starting to go numb. And the important thing about that is out of the same nerves that go down into your arms, you actually have an extension that goes into your heart and lungs, right? And you have this amazing nerve called the vagus nerve that brings your organ systems into ease. And if there's interference in the vagus nerve, then the whole body will actually be out of balance. So make sure that you guys are actually doing that also. And then before we wrap it up, Dr. Mario, if it's okay, we spoke about the physical component. I want to share with you about the psycho-emotional component to being in front of people for long periods of time. When we're exposing ourselves to gadgets such as computers or cell phones, these gadgets actually release something called blue light. And blue light actually alters something within our bodies called the circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is this innate clock within our bodies that our creator put there, and it actually aligns with the rhythms of the sun. And so as we sleep, believe it or not, our innate intelligence or organ systems are actually regenerating new cells. And that's how we could live for so long. Our heart is regenerating new cells, our lungs, our digestive system, our kidneys. And what's happening as we expose our bodies to this blue light is our bodies, our brains think that it's still daytime. So if you're in the computer until 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., or in your phone going through social media or reading, this blue light is telling your brain that it's still daytime. And guess what? You're going to be wider awake for a longer period of time. And that's why a lot of people are out there actually having trouble falling asleep at a decent time, right? And so what happens is when you do happen to fall asleep, you're not getting long levels of deep sleep. You're not getting into those multiple REM cycles, which is where your body heals and regenerates. This lack of deep sleep is also causing more congestion of toxins within the brain. It's also affecting our cortisol levels, and it is causing havoc throughout your whole body because the brain is the master control system of the whole body. Guess who's also being deeply affected by this? Our teenagers, our kids. They are on the phones, on social media, and every single teenager that I have in my office, pretty much almost every single one of them, right now are suffering of anxiety because of the brain alteration that the long-term exposure to this blue light is causing. So one of the things that I always recommend for everybody to do is just really be conscious and monitor the amount of time that you're spending in front of gadgets, in front of cell phones and computers, because you want to manage that time. It can actually be very addictive, especially right now that we can't go out and about and hang out with our friends or our family. The other thing, I actually have timers every 15 minutes after an hour of exposure on my cell phone. Doesn't matter what time it is. Every 15 minutes, my cell phone's asking me to give myself permission. And I count how much time I spend in front of my electrical gadgets throughout the day. The other thing that I highly recommend is for you to buy blue light blocking glasses. You can get these online. They're about $30. These are the ones that I actually use throughout the day, especially if I'm extremely fatigued. And then I have some real dark ones that I actually have right next to my nightstand. And those are what I use after usually 7 or 8 p.m. And as I block out that deep level of blue light, then my brain says, you know what? It's kind of dark in here. It's time to start getting relaxed to go to sleep. And the serotonin levels start to increase and my body starts to unwind. But when we're always on that blue light, the sympathetic brain is always running. And so please, please, please talk to your kids, monitor the times that they're on the computer, do it for yourself. And a great investment that you can actually make are these blue light blocking glasses. They're actually pretty awesome.
Thank you for sharing all those things. You know, if you're watching, wherever you may be watching the program right now here at Cafecito Corner of Health Spice and Live Show, these things that Dr. Jen has been sharing, they're not philosophical things, they're not dreamlike state things. These are real things. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this in the show today is because if we consider doing some of the things that she has been sharing with us today, it will absolutely alter our overall experience of health. And not only that, those that are around you are being impacted by the quality of your life. If you're a parent and you start to practice some of the things, they will trickle down to your children if you have children. And if you don't have children, it could be family members, friends, loved ones, and so on. It is so important. If you're going to take any message out of this intimate conversation we've been having with you today, is the importance of learning to this invaluable asset, which is the body, the messages that it's telling us, because very often they're not subtle messages. It's almost like somebody screaming in our ear. If you've experienced pain, which you probably have, because we all human beings at some point we have, you know there's nothing subtle about being in the experience of pain. So rather than just putting that away and not making any sense of it or paying attention to it, this conversation, I am certainly wishing that has inspired you to think about it. It is so important for me here at the Health, Spice, and Life Show to hear what you have to say. How the sharing of this information in this intimate conversation with you has absolutely inspired you to do something different in your life, but more importantly, to start taking steps, concrete steps, towards transforming your life in the best possible way. Coronavirus has been impactful enough to change our lives, but it also, as I have chosen to make it be in my life, just like Dr. Jen, it is an unbelievable, unprecedented invitation to change our lives, to modify our lives, and to take new things in so that we can elevate the overall quality of life and experience of our own health better than we've ever had it before. Dr. Jen, before we close up, where can people find you? Where can they see you? Because now they can truly see you, not just by seeing you in Florida, but they can see you across the world. Please share with the audience, how can they actually have access to your magnificent work?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I have a couple of websites. You can actually reach me at drjen777.com. That is D-R-E-N, D-R-J-E-N. I can't even spell it right now. drjen777.com. You can also follow me in social media, Jennifer Hastings, DC. You can also reach our office and our assistants will gladly schedule. Thankfully, through technology, I can actually take care of people virtually where we can do consultations. Even if I can't provide you a one-on-one chiropractic service, but I could definitely do a consultation and create a plan, a lifestyle plan for things that you can actually do to heal and maintain your health, okay, and thrive. And you can call the office at 954-533-2614.
Please don't forget to leave us your comments, whatever came up for you, how this changed your life. Share with the community. In sharing, we give the gift of this information to others, so ultimately they get to experience what you did. I am so honored to have had this special guest today in the first of our special guest series here at Health, Spice, and Life, and the El Cafecito Corner series. If you like to see things in Spanish, we've actually created a similar show to this one also in Spanish. They're not identical because this is an organic, honest, authentic, heart-centered process. So if there's some differences, well, even more reason for you to watch it so that you can actually get to enjoy this just like we have today. And as I always like to say, after saying thank you once again to Dr. Jen, from my heart to your heart, I am Dr. Mario saying to you, a tu salud. See you next time.